So, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, let me take this opportunity to thank you for your support on this channel. Here is the story, very interesting one, that I hope you are going to enjoy it. Today we are going to look again this man, or to talk about, or to discuss on this famous person known as His Excellency the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, we are going to look on how he has been in politics and the characters he has made, of which most of politicians should portray. Remember, Raila Amolo Odinga has struggled for this country, and he has vied for that post 5 times. Remember, he has been losing in those 5 times he has tried. Now, how is now this telling us, we upcoming generation or upcoming young politicians? It's telling us that one should ought to have that huge heart of forgiveness. Do you remember what happened to him in 2013? I think most of Kenyans can recall. 2007, most of Kenyans can recall. Therefore, how do we portray his character? We portray his characters by saying he has such a compassionate heart. He is kind to Kenyans. He is so generous to Kenyans. And he really bears the consequences of losing the election. What if it were me or you? How will you feel? How will you react? People may talk negative on his weakness, but he stood as a leader of dignity and endured all the hurdles that he went through after losing the election. Fellow Kenyans, we can recall back in 2022 again, of which we are almost ending it. What happened to him is similar to what happened to him on 2017. Remember when he said Kibaki Tosha in 2007, when Kenya was worst and turning into a very dangerous war. But the guy stood out and humbled himself enough and showed Kenyans his humankind to others. What of you? I think most of politicians should border the same boat to copy his characters. Again, we are portraying his characters, of which we shall never forget him. The same man stood with us in 2013 during Uhuru Ruto's government. He again humbled himself, stood firm, and said nothing negative after he had lost the election. 2022, he again was in the same ballot boxes. He was a stiff competitor of Dr. William Samoei Ruto, of which up to date no one knows who won the election. But the IBC stood by themselves and announced the Kenya Kwanza, who is now in power, their chief hustler, as a winner. But the guy had a complaint. Remember, he took this complaint to court. The court threw the case out. Therefore, what is ringing in our mind? That shows that the man Raila is a humble person, a humble politician, a peaceful leader, whom most of Kenyans always will admire his characters in leadership. Today we are finding the reason why this man has been denied this seat several times. This is because when you combine those superpower countries, they always look after every African's election, of which they don't want the wise person to take over the seat. And they know very well that they want most leaders to enslave, to make their people slaves in Africa. They know very well that this man is wise enough and can resolve this term of dictatorship when he took power. When he takes power, sorry. Therefore, the reason why Raila is always being denied this seat is because he is wise enough. He is so kind to others and can enable make most of Kenyans to reason in a huge number, of which can make this country to move forward enough. And that is why if you look most of countries in Africa, they always want arrogant leader, a dictatorship leader, a leader who doesn't care for any human welfare. What of this man Raila? I think most of Kenyans can recognize him. What if I say he is kind enough to others? What if I say he has that compassionate heart to human? Then we can say that is indeed he can make Africa to change. Not only Africa, but also this is beloved country Kenya to change, and the world too. So fellow Kenyans, let us not forget this man. Remember, he has been a very good leader for us. He stood with us and still standing with us. We can never forget him. But these are the secret why he has been denied severally in this seat. Because he has that vision of ending the slavery in Africa. And that is what most of the country, the superpower countries, don't want. We shall come up with more news, of which I hope you will be ready to listen, and we shall come back to find which way forward is Raila taking now. Remember, he has never talked on he's inactive in politics or is retirees in politics, which means he still love Kenya. He still loves us. Remember, he's our hero. Remember, he's my hero. I'm not saying that most of the leaders are wrong. No one is perfect, even me. What I'm trying to elaborate is we young politicians or young generation, let us try to portray the former Prime Minister's characters. We love Kenya, God love Kenya, we love ourselves, and we shall move forward. Remember, humility takes people far. If Raila is recognized as a great hero in this country, therefore we shall never forget him, even if he has been denied this seat for several times. One day God will answer this our beloved country and also Africa. Thank you. May God bless you. Remember, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thank you for listening to me. We shall come up with more news regardless of which situation it will occur. Goodbye. Have a nice time.